Attention! This makes absolutely no sense. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Zander's Facts.
Hello everyone, what is going on today? Welcome to the Zander's Facts podcast. I am the aforementioned Zander. It is episode 17. How about that? May 26th. And thank you all for listening. And remember, if you want to support the Zander's Facts podcast, get all the facts. You all know what to do. Go follow, download, rate, and review. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all those places. And the most important part, well, downloading is probably the most important part. But also, spread the word. Tell all your friends about the Zander's Facts podcast and all the facts. We got a ton of facts here for you this week. We've got, holy cow, a lot of sports. Once again, it's a big sports time of the year, okay? You know, like, we'll get to politics at some point, but big time in sports. We've got big week. NBA playoffs are happening. PGA Championship was last week. NHL, soccer, big game on this weekend that we're going to preview. We've got it all here on the Zander's Facts podcast, episode 17 in our pre-Memorial Day show. How about this? So, let's start here with the NBA playoffs, because last week we had Hillbilly on and we talked about the play-in game. Well, I can report that after last week, I can report our records. So, in the first round of the play-in, the games that happened, the Celtics beat the Wizards, the Pacers beat the Hornets. That was the East first round. In the West, the Lakers beat the Warriors. I know, we're all so sad.
Terrible.
And the Grizzlies beat the Spurs. So in the first round, Zander went, that's me, 1 for 3. The only one I got right was the Grizzlies over the Spurs. However, Hillbilly went 2 and 2. How about that?
Wow.
So he picked the Lakers begrudgingly. He did, but he did. And they won because, I don't know, LeBron. Ugh. So both of us got the Eastern Conference game strong. However, I said that the Wizards were going to beat the Celtics in the first round of the play-in, I said the Celtics would be in the playoffs because they'd win the second game. Well, they're in the playoffs, and Hillbilly did not have the Celtics in the playoffs. He had the Hornets in, and the Hornets lost in the first round, so the Wizards are the 8th seed in the playoffs. Both of us, however, did not have the Memphis Grizzlies in the playoffs. I think we both had Lakers and Warriors as the 7-8 seeds in the West. The Grizzlies are in the playoffs. We had the Warriors, so I didn't know it was going to happen. The Warriors just did not show up, but that's last week's play-in, so that's behind us. So let's get to what's going on now, because the playoffs are in full swing. The first round, big games going on. Maybe right now where you're watching. They started on Saturday. They're still going on. They're going to go on because it's 7-game series. So let's break them down here for you. So in the East, we've got 4 series in each conference. The Sixers, the 76ers from Philadelphia, are the first seed. They lead their series 1-0 over the Wizards, who are the 8th seed, sadly. They lead their series 1-0. The game was actually closer than I thought it was going to be game 1, but we'll see what happens. Game 2 is on Wednesday. The 4-5 series is the Knicks and the Hawks, and the Hawks took game 1 in New York. Trae Young, lucky shot. Well, I don't know, lucky, but he won it for the Hawks at a close game. Game 2 is also on Wednesday. The Bucks and the Heat. Oh.
Yikes!
So game 1 went to overtime. That was pretty good. The Bucks pulled it out. And then game 2 happened, and the Bucks won by 40. It was blowout, please. The Bucks, they're up on the Heat 2-0. Game 3 is on Thursday. Ugh, I don't even know. The series shifts to Miami, so hopefully, I love my Heat. But the Nets-Celtics series is the final Eastern Conference first-round matchup. The Nets lead that one 2-0 over the Celtics. Just had a game Tuesday night. Nets rolled. Game 3 is on Friday. The Hawks-Knicks think is going to be the most interesting. That is the 4-5 matchup, and the Hawks took a game in New York, so that's, come on, that's going to be really interesting. In the West, though, how about this?
Here comes the fact.
The 8-1 first-round matchup is the Grizzlies and the Jazz. On Sunday, they played their first game. The Grizzlies won it. The 8th seed. They upset the Jazz. They didn't have Donovan Mitchell, and their top guys were struggling. Gobert, they were just not doing so well. So the Grizzlies snuck out a win in Utah. We'll see what happens with Game 2. That's on Wednesday. So, 8 seed over a 1 seed right now. 1-0. I don't know. We'll see. 4-5 series is the Mavericks and the Clippers. Ooh, this is a good one. So the Mavericks lead the series 2-0. They just played on Tuesday. Game 3 is on Friday. I picked the Mavericks. So the Nuggets are tied with the Trailblazers 1-1. Nuggets are the 3 seed. Blazers are the 6 seed. The Blazers beat Denver in Game 1 back on Saturday. Denver comes back, ties the series on Monday night. So Game 3 for that series is on Thursday. And the last series in the West is the Suns and the Lakers. The Suns are the 2 seed. I said, if the Lakers win this game, Suns. I don't know if I said that, but I think the Suns are going to win the series. The series is tied right now, 1-1, so big time basketball here. It's going to Los Angeles, so we'll see. I don't know what the deal with LeBron and AD is, but Game 3 is on Thursday. Well, how about that?
How about that?
NBA playoff action. It's heating up. Playoff games every night until the conference finals or so, and then it's just going to get dull in baseball and soccer. We'll get to soccer in a second, but there's another sport that's going on. Golf. And I know everyone loves golf. Actually, recording this here on Tuesday the 25th, in the middle of the day today, the women's NCAA golf championships were on, and I was watching it. I was like, okay. The Hokies weren't in it, but they were playing good golf. So the PGA Championship was last week. As I said on this podcast, I said Zander Schauffele's going to win.
Ha ha, loser.
And he didn't make the cut. He didn't even get to the week. It was terrible. I don't know. But you know who did win? You might know his name if you don't know. His name is Phil Mickelson. How about this? Phil Mickelson becomes the oldest golfer in the history of golf to win a major championship. How about that? 50 years old.
Fact.
That's crazy. He only scored a 6 under too, and that was 2 strokes better than the runner-ups Brooks Koepka, Louis Oosthuizen. It was the worst winning score for a PGA Championship since 2008. But that's not, any slight on Mickelson, because that course is incredibly hard, and the winds were all over the place that weekend. So, just Schauffele, as I said, 6 over. It was a tough weekend because you had to get lucky too at the times you were playing, because some guys had the wind going full force during the whole rounds and some didn't. So I don't know. Just got to be careful. There is a tournament this upcoming weekend though in Texas, the Charles Schwab Challenge, but basketball's on. And there's another big game that's on, the UEFA Champions League Final. It's huge. So we're going to talk about that. I've got a special guest, a recurring guest. How about this? Emma Adams is back on the podcast as we talk Champions League, Premier League, Euros are this summer. Holy cow. We've got all soccer or football talk, Soccer or football. We are going to appeal to all fans here on the Zander's Facts podcast. It's football talk. We've got it coming up right here on the Zander's Facts podcast as we continue.
Zander's Facts.
Welcome back. Zander's Facts, episode 17. I've got a special guest here. We're going to talk tons of football, all MLS action. Emma Adams. Emma, how's it going today?
Hello, I'm good. I'm excited to be here, honored to be here.
Honored. Well, Zander's Facts, episode 17. recurring guest.
Wow.
Big stuff to talk about this week. UEFA Champions League. All right. Big match this Saturday. Man City and Chelsea. They're calling it the biggest soccer game of the year.
The Premier League 2.0.
This is an all-English final. It's Man City and Chelsea. They are both in the Premier League. Oh, I do know the last time it was an English final, all-English final, was 2019. Liverpool fans might know that one. Saturday, 3 o'clock Eastern from Porto, Portugal at the Estadio do Dragão. So we got you on here, Adams, for analysis. So, all right, what's going to happen? Like, I know what's going to happen, but I want to know what you think is going to happen.
Man City is coming off of a big win. Like they just won the league by a lot of points.
The Premier.
They've had a great season in everything they've done. Chelsea is coming fresh off of a loss. They dropped their place in the table. They lost to Aston Villa, I'm pretty sure. 2-1.
Blowing it. They didn't care about that game.
But they dropped their place in the table. They had to win. Because if Leicester won, they wouldn't have gotten Champions League football next year.
But Leicester didn't win.
Exactly. But the thing is, that game was important to them and they lost. They're coming off a loss. They're going to be great. They're a great team. They've had a good season. Since Thomas Tuchel took over, they've had a good season.
Tuki.
Really worked their way back up. So it's going to be a really good game to watch. It's going to be intense. It's going to be a lot of passion, especially both being British teams. But I'm going to say, I'd like it to go to penalties. I'm kind of feeling like Chelsea are definitely the underdogs in this situation. And I feel like they could pull off a win. But it's going to be a close game regardless. So I would go with 2-1 Chelsea at the moment.
Yep.
Oh, really? Oh. Well, I was going to go with Chelsea, and I still will. Tuki.
Why?
Because they have one guy that Man City does not. You know his name?
Pulisic?
Christian Pulisic, the American.
The American.
How about this?
Big fact incoming.
This is going to be the first time an American will ever win the Champions League. Do you know that? Because Chelsea has Pulisic, and Man City has their backup goalkeeper, Zach Steffen. But Pulisic is going to play. So Chelsea's going to win 4-0.
4-0.
Well, yeah, I mean, go on. I got it. So you said Thomas Tuchel. That's the Chelsea manager. This is his second straight Champions League final. Did you know that?
I think I did.
Because he was the manager of Paris Saint-Germain last year. And they let him go. And they went to the final.
Yeah, but I mean, it's good for Chelsea that they let him go.
Well, yeah, I mean, first year in the Champions League. How about that?
Because, backtrack, Chelsea had their own Frank Lampard as their head coach. Who was
the Lamp.
a Chelsea player. But they let him go mid-year, and then Tuchel took over.
Oh, middle of this year?
But yeah.
Wow, overcoming some adversity to get into the final.
They've had a long season, but I think where they are now is really good. They've had a good team for a while. It's just if they can actually make it work.
They got that piece that they needed. Pulisic.
Who?
He's going to score all 4 goals on Saturday.
I'm definitely not feeling 4-0 Chelsea, especially not if they're all Pulisic, but it's okay.
Did you know that annually the Champions League final is the most watched sporting event in the world?
It would make sense.
Did you know that? Over the Super Bowl.
Yeah, because no one else but Americans watch the Super Bowl.
So all right, so 2019 Super Bowl got about 100 million people watching, viewers. And the Champions League got about 380 million, so it wasn't really close.
That's a big fact.
But the Super Bowl was most watched until 2010. And then but only about 3 million people watched the Champions League final in 2019 in the US. So
yeah, because who were the teams in 2019?
Liverpool. They played Tottenham
in the final.
That was the all-English final, Tottenham and Liverpool.
Well, good thing we won.
Well, now they're not even in it.
But they will be next year.
Let's get to that because the final week of the Premier League season was last week.
Had some big shockers.
They only have a regular season. They don't have a playoffs or a postseason, which doesn't make any sense.
So going into the final week, it was Manchester City at first, Manchester United at second, Chelsea at third, and Liverpool at fourth, with Leicester being fifth and having dropped to fifth the week before after being in the top four position since like winter time. And only 4 spots go to the Champions League. The 5th spot claims Europa, which is, we'll get into that later.
5th and 6th.
Right? But Liverpool and Leicester were tied on points, but Liverpool had better goal difference, keeping them in the top 4. So Chelsea would stay in the top 4 if they won or they lost, and as long as Liverpool and Leicester did not lose. Liverpool would stay in the top 4 as if they got a better result than Leicester, or Chelsea lost and Liverpool got some type of points, draw or a win. Leicester would move into the top 4 if they won and Liverpool did not win, or if Chelsea lost.
Too many facts.
So those were all the possible outcomes, and a lot of things happened. So we had Chelsea losing.
Please.
Aston Villa. We had Liverpool win to Palace, and we had Leicester lose to Tottenham. Which Liverpool took 3rd, Chelsea took 4th, and Leicester are going to Europa next year.
You want to go in the top 4 because you get Champions League.
And you get money.
Well, money, yeah.
And being in the Champions League recruits more players to want to play for you.
So the Champions League only takes a certain number of clubs per country each year. And so they base this on what they call UEFA coefficients.
It's the truth.
So these are created based on results of the clubs from certain countries or associations during the previous 5 seasons, 5 Champions and Europa League seasons. And so UEFA uses another coefficient set to seed the countries for the Euros, which we're going to get to. Euros preview this summer. And then they do another one. They have another coefficient set for seeding the clubs in the Champions and the Europa Leagues for who they're going to play.
Quick facts!
Mm-hmm.
So the top 4 nations... So the top 4 nations based on coefficients, and the higher the coefficient, the higher you're seeded, and the better you've done over the last 5 years as a country. So the top 4 nations each get 4 clubs in the Champions League. And then the next 2 nations, numbers 5 and 6, get 3 clubs. And the next 9 get 2 clubs. And then the rest of the countries get 1 club. And there's 55 countries in UEFA. So, top 4 here. This is as of May 6th. England is number 1. How about that?
How about that?
Spain, Italy, and Germany.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because you have teams like PSG, Juventus, Bayern, teams like that.
So, the Premier League gets 4 teams in. La Liga, Serie A, and the Bundesliga, they all get 4 teams in. The next 2 are France and Portugal. So they only get 3 teams in. And so the next 9, like Netherlands, Russia, Belgium, Austria, all those get 2. Then you have to go all the way down to 1. Like Wales and Finland and Ireland and Poland, they all get 1 team. So there you go. That's how Champions League works.
It's a fact.
So Man City and Chelsea last year both finished in the top 4.
Exactly.
So they got to go to the Champions League, and now they're in it. And now Chelsea's going to win it. And if you win the Champions League, you qualify for next year's group stage of the Champions League, of course. And you also qualify for the UEFA Super Cup. Big game, the Super Cup.
That's not a fact.
Also, one side note, if you win the Europa League, you also qualify for the Champions League next season.
The Europa League champions also go to the Super Cup. So it's just one game. So it's the winners of the Champions League and the winners of the Europa League, and they play each other in the Super Cup. And then whoever wins the Super Cup, and who cares? And then you also become the European entry in the FIFA Club World Cup, which this year is going to be in Japan, I think in December. So when they have like an international break, they'll play the Club World Cup. How about that? Because in the Club World Cup, each continent gets one team. All right, so this is Chelsea's third Champions League final. How about that? They lost in 2008 and they won it in 2012, and they're going to win it again this year. So that's going to be 2 wins for Chelsea. This is Man City's first ever Champions League final.
Huh.
How about that?
Who has the most Champions League wins?
Real Madrid has 13, and they won the first 5 from 1956 to 1960. Real Madrid won the first ever Champions League finals, and they have 13. So that's the most.
See, but if you look at the third most titles is Liverpool.
Tied with Bayern Munich, please.
We have more than Barcelona, so...
Yeah, one more. Please. So Man City's manager, Pep Guardiola, so he has been in the Champions League twice before. Even though Man City's never been in it before, because he was Barcelona's manager in 2009 and 2011. So you mentioned earlier the Europa League final. That's on Wednesday. So if you're listening to this podcast when it comes out on Wednesday and it's 3:00 Eastern, turn on, I don't know what channel, the TV, because the Europa League final's on. And that game features Villarreal, who's from Spain, the La Liga, and Manchester United. So, all right, prediction here, Adams. Who's going to win that match, club?
United.
Really?
2-0.
2-0. Have you
Yeah.
even heard of Villarreal before?
I have. They're a Spanish team. They've been in the Champions League before, but I don't really see United losing once they've been off a great season.
Well, they were. So, yeah, I mean, they've already qualified for Champions League because they were second in the Premier League. So
Exactly.
they don't even have to win. I think Villarreal is 7th in the La Liga, so they kind of need this.
But United have faced Villarreal more times without ever scoring than they have any other opponent.
Wow. How about that? Zander's facts.
Zander's fact.
Holy cow.
Zander's facts?
Another Zander's fact. This is United's 8th major European final, the second most of any English club after Liverpool with 14.
It's a fact.
Okay, so the winner of the Europa League final qualifies to face the Champions League winner in the Super Cup, as we said. Super Cup, I think, is in the fall. And then they also qualify for the Champions League, the group stage. So, all right, so we've got Europa League Wednesday. I think Man United's going to win that one too. So we both got Man United. That's Wednesday. Saturday's the big one. Champions League, Chelsea, Man City.
3 p.m. CBS.
Chelsea's going to win.
We're saying it here. Zander's fact. Chelsea's going to win.
It's a fact.
Another tournament that's going on that is sponsored by UEFA this summer
Who's?
are the Euros, also known as the 2020 UEFA European Football Championship, which was supposed to happen last summer,
But
COVID. So it was postponed to this summer, and they didn't change the name, so it's still 2020. But it begins less than a month, like half a month, like June 11th is when it starts. So Man City, Man United, Chelsea, they've only got a couple weeks, and then those players have got to go play in the Euros. So this is nations. This isn't clubs. We've got the groups pulled up. So it's kind of like the World Cup of Europe. It is. I mean, they do the group stage, and then you do the single elimination,
it's fun. I like the Euros.
I'm going to be watching Euros this summer because the Olympics isn't going to happen.
You're a liar!
It's not like Americans really care about the World Cup anyways because they never qualify.
Oh, we will next year.
No.
Get ready. You want to go to a game?
Yeah. If they're in it, yeah.
Qatar is where they're playing.
Okay, we'll go.
In November 2022, we're going to go to Qatar or Qatar. I don't know how it's said. But the Euros, the World Cup of Europe, is this year. They've got 6, so they got 6 groups. And so I think it's the top 2 teams out of each group make it to the knockout. All right, so let's go down the line here. We're going to pick teams out of these groups. We
Okay.
got to do previews.
Here it comes.
Group A is Turkey, Italy, Wales, and Switzerland. So Italy's going to go.
Wales, Italy, and Wales.
Oh,
Wales have Gareth Bale and a few, and they have some good players.
So Group B, this is a loaded group right here. Denmark, Finland, Belgium, and Russia.
Belgium for sure.
I think Belgium's the top ranked country in the world by UEFA or by FIFA, actually. FIFA does the worldwide stuff. So Belgium
and Denmark, maybe.
The Denmarks. I'm going to pull up these rankings here. So I've got the 2017 UEFA coefficients. I guess they haven't done a newer one. So, all right. So the 2017 rankings by UEFA were Germany 1, Portugal 2, Belgium 3, Spain 4, France 5, England 6, Switzerland 7, Italy 8.
Interesting.
You're knocking Switzerland for Wales, who's 14, please. What are we in? Group B? So we said Belgium, and then it's Denmark, Finland, and Russia.
Who's higher on the list?
Let's see. Denmark is they're 22nd. Finland is 36th. Russia's 15th.
Maybe Russia then?
Ah. The 2018 World Cup hosts.
Fact.
What a terrible World Cup that was. No US. So the third group is Group C. And so in that one are the Netherlands, Ukraine, Austria, and North Macedonia.
I'm going with Netherlands and Ukraine.
Netherlands is 12th. Ukraine is 18th. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or Austria is 13th. Oh. How about that?
I'm still going Netherlands, Ukraine.
Watch out for the sleeper North Macedonia. They're 41st. So Group D, the big ones, the Brits, England, Croatia, Scotland, and the Czech Republic.
England and Croatia.
What a group.
Or England and Scotland. Croatia did really well in the World Cup, right? A few years ago. Modric.
Croatia's 11th. Yeah, that's a good one.
I'm going to go England, Croatia.
Scotland's 27th.
Scotland is good, though. Scotland is good.
So Group E, Spain, Sweden, Poland, Slovakia.
That's a hard group, too. Definitely Spain.
Yeah.
I'd say Spain and Sweden.
Oh, Sweden is 17. Poland is 9th.
Oh.
Spain and Sweden is what you're saying? Okay.
Yeah.
We don't forget predictions here on the Zander's Facts podcast. So if you mess these up, you're going to be in trouble. All right. Final group is Group F. Hungary, Portugal, France, Germany. Oh my gosh.
Definitely Germany. Germany's ranked high. I would say Germany, France, but Portugal is very well in that.
3 of the top 5 teams in the 2017 rankings are in that group.
Definitely Germany. Germany's always been such a strong team. And France, though. So I'm going to say Germany, France.
Wow. No Ronaldo. Portugal.
It's going to be close, but Germany and France just have them beat.
What a group that's going to be.
That's a good group.
And Hungary, don't forget about them at 25th. I mean,
actually, not bad, you know?
No. All right. So that's all the groups A, B, C, D, E, F. So now once they advance out of the group stage, they go to the knockouts. So, Emma Adams, what's your final for the Euros and who's going to win? How about that?
It's going to come down to Belgium, Germany, France. Like, I'm biased towards England, and they have a good team.
Yeah, they don't have anybody good, please.
That is so false. They have a lot of good people, but or Spain. Maybe it'll come down to Belgium, Spain, France, Germany.
I'll give you my pick. How about that?
Yeah, okay.
France.
Whoa.
Mbappe.
I was gonna go France. So
Oh,
it very well could be France, Belgium.
yeah. I don't know how they do the seedings after the groups, so I don't know how we could get the finals, but I'll pick France.
Germany is so good though. Germany's always been good. They have like Tony Cruz, Kevin De Bruyne. How are you? Sorry, don't say I said Kevin De Bruyne is German. He is Belgium. Listen to this Belgian national team. Ready?
Yeah.
Eden Hazard, Lukaku, Kevin De Bruyne,
Boing.
Courtois. Like they have Tielemans. They have a really good team.
Yeah, they must. I mean, they're third ranked in the world by UEFA, or in the Europe, in the world too. I mean, what other countries? Brazil, Argentina, is that it? Like, please, come on.
No, France is gonna win. Mbappe, Griezmann, Benzema, Giroud, Pogba, Conte, Lloris, Martial. But listen to the Germany national team:
Uncle Paul.
Kroos, Mueller, Timo Werner, Leroy Sané. Like that's a good Emre Can. That's a good team.
Never heard of any of these guys. That's Germany.
You've heard of Tony Cruz and Timo Werner. Timo Werner plays for Chelsea.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you something. I haven't seen a Chelsea game all year, so.
Oh, wow, that's fake.
Okay. When I wake up in the morning, I turn on my TV. If I go to like NBC and there's a Premier League game on, I'll watch it. But I'm not going to go on to like Peacock and search for Chelsea or Man City. Like, no, I'm not. Please. If it's convenient for me, I'll do it.
Okay, fine. Portugal is going to be actually really good. They have Ronaldo, Bruno Fernandes, Jota, Pepe.
Pepe. So wait, we're both going with France here.
If not, you could do like Germany or Belgium would be the other.
I'll do Belgium for my second team. How about that? But I'm going France. My favorite team isn't on here, so
America?
yeah, the USMNT. They have the best player. So
What do you say?
all right, so that's all the European soccer we're going to talk about. Now let's get to the big stuff, the big leagues here. MLS just started a couple weeks ago, and my favorite club, as we all know, is DC United. They are a really good club. They have Paul Areola. They have others, and yeah, so right now they are 11th in the Eastern Conference table out of 15 teams. There are 30 teams in MLS, but they split them up by conferences. They have 6 points and they have played 6 games. Let's take a look at the top of the MLS here, and you're going to have to break this down for me because the Sounders are first. They have 17 points. Seattle. They're one of the big names. New England is second. They have 14 points. Now, New England has Bruce Arena as their manager, and he was the U.S. national team manager when they failed to qualify for the World Cup.
There's 2 different conferences in the MLS?
Yes, there are.
What is
East
that?
and West.
They have series and a playoff? What is that?
Yes, they do. It's called the MLS Cup.
That sounds awful.
No, it's actually absolutely incredible. Because the MLS Cup, because you know what? That ensures that the best teams win. If you can survive a playoff, that's when the adversity. You go throughout these regular season games, la-di-da-di-da, and Man City just goes away. But if, Columbus Crew won it last year. Columbus Crew was the best team in MLS. DC United won it like 3 times back in the 90s. They were the best team. They haven't been anywhere close since, but they were the best team. So the MLS Cup, I believe, is in November because MLS plays summer, which is incredible because the top 7 teams in each conference go to the MLS playoffs, and the playoffs are divided by conferences. So if you're in the West, you play Western Conference teams. If you're in the East, you play Eastern Conference teams until you get to the MLS Cup final. And that's one from the East and one from the West. So it's much better than Europe.
So it's basically college level athletics.
Yes, but with pro players.
Okay.
Like Paul Areola and Higuain from Miami.
Yeah, Higuain.
I love Higuain. So it might be my favorite player. Carlos Vela on LAFC. All right. Let's make a prediction here for MLS. How about that?
Okay.
In the final, it will be. Let's pick an East and a West team for the final. So you're gonna go first here.
Seattle to the West.
Okay.
Just because they already have a big lead. And
yeah, they do. They're 4 points ahead of Kansas City right now.
Orlando for the East.
Wow. Orlando's pretty good. DC United played them. They lost. I'm going to go with, in the East, I'm going to go with New York City FC. How about that?
That's a big crawback.
Well, they're in the playoffs. New York City FC. How about that? In the East. And in the West, LA Galaxy. There you go. And the winner will be LA Galaxy. What a team they are. You have Seattle? Oh, it's probably a good one. All right, so there we go. Soccer. We got the big European stuff, but it's not as big as MLS, which is, huge. All right, so Adams, thanks for being on. Any last words you've got? Pulisic.
It's always a pleasure being here, and have a good sporting week.
Yeah, have a good pre-Memorial Day week here on Zander's Facts. How about that?
Thought about that. Yeah.
All right, thanks, CPA.
Yes, of course, always.
This is Zander's Facts.
Thank you once again to Emma Adams for coming on the podcast, and that's a wrap for this week's edition of the Zander's Facts podcast. Hopefully you enjoyed this week's edition of the podcast. Zander taking a little bit of a break this week. It's vacation week for Zander. And yes, I am referring to myself in the third person, but
get that out of here.
I said, you know what? Vacation could wait. We gotta enlighten the masses with the facts. And that's what we're doing. So if you thought this was the worst podcast ever, I'm sorry. But we'll be back full force next week here on the Zander's Facts podcast. I have no clue what we're going to talk about. Maybe politics, because I know people like politics on this podcast for some reason. So we'll hopefully talk about that. NBA playoffs are still going to be going on, so we're going to update that. But remember, if you did like this podcast, and even if you didn't like this edition of the podcast, I don't care. Go follow, download, rate, and review. Go on social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Follow, like the Zander's Facts podcast posts, I don't even know, and tell all your friends. If you're going to the beach, go tell everyone on the beach about the Zander's Facts podcast, and make sure they're all listening. Let's get all the beachgoers on the Zander's Facts podcast. How about that? So that's a wrap. This week, episode 17 of the Zander's Facts podcast is all done, and we'll see y'all next week.
Enlightening the masses.